77 WABC and Bergen Newbridge Medical Center honor the life of legendary broadcaster and our friend, Ernie Anastas.
Hi, it's Ernie Anastas. You know, your thoughts can affect how you feel. Bergen Newbridge Medical Center is the largest hospital in New Jersey, providing comprehensive, equitable, compassionate, and high-quality emergency inpatient and outpatient medical care, plus mental health services and substance use disorder treatment. The Bergen Newbridge team can address your total health needs in one convenient location. Call 201-225-7130 for an appointment or newbridgehealth.org.
Okay.
He's at war with woke.
Joe Concha
thinks liberals are a joke.
Joe Concha.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
All right, everybody. So we have a former president, not Biden, but Barack Obama, who apparently now needs Luke Skywalker to sell tickets to his new library in Chicago that cost $850 million to build. So Mark Hamill, who played Luke Skywalker in those Star Wars movies you saw, I don't know if you were alive for that matter, 1977, 80, 83. Well, the problem is that, first let's play the clip from Obama and Mark Hamill saying, you got to come to this library. It's awesome. It only costs $850 million to build. A library, mind you. And then I'll give you the punchline on the other side. This is cut number whatever. Go.
Happy Star Wars Day from the Obama Presidential Center.
Very good feeling about this.
No. Mark, I am glad you are here. I want to tell you about someone.
Okay.
A young person born into ordinary circumstances, but restless, unsatisfied.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God.
A kid with big dreams, a bit of a rebel.
I like where this is going.
They joined a scrappy group of underdogs and set out to change things.
By blowing up a giant space laser?
Mark, this is not about you. As wonderful as you are, this is about them.
Oh, all right. We're good there, Elias. It's not about you. It's about my library. Now, here's a tweet or blue sky, whatever you want to call it, a post on social media. Here is Mark Hamill, who played Luke Skywalker. If only Trump should live long enough to witness his inevitable, devastating loss in the midterms, be accountable for his unprecedented corruption, impeachment, conviction, and humiliated on countless crimes long enough to realize he'll be disgraced in the history books forevermore. Part of this whole post is Trump lying in a grave. Yeah, really. After this guy was nearly assassinated 3 times, here is Mark Hamill on May 7th of 2026, still posting this stuff. This is sick. And the fact that Barack Obama would appear with Luke Skywalker, who's gone insane completely and totally. Talk about going to the dark side. This guy's Vader times 10. And now he is wishing for Trump's death, literally posting a photo of Trump lying in his own grave, saying that he hopes he's dead. We talk about violent rhetoric on this show over and over again. If I got to hear more one time about both sides, I'm going to lose my mind because it does not exist. This is from the left. They want Trump dead. And if he were to die, they would celebrate in the streets. I can guarantee you, as sure as you were born. And that's where we are at this point. I like those movies. I thought Luke Skywalker was kind of weak. Han Solo, more my guy. But still, a whole bowl of wrong. Meanwhile, what's going on here in New York? Because Ken Griffin is not happy with Zohran Mamdani, the current mayor, who, again, doxed his penthouse on Park Avenue, said, I'm going to tax the hell out of this guy when he brings his business here. Well, Griffin is now saying that, okay, great. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move down to Miami with $6 billion in terms of what I was going to put into this business. All these, we're talking about tens of thousands of workers. We're talking about millions in tax revenue, hundreds of millions. But we got Mamdani saying, yeah, you're not really welcome here. And if you come here, then therefore we're going to tax the hell out of you. Anyway, here's Ken Griffin talking about what it was like being under Fred Flintstone, who was known as J.B. Pritzker, the Illinois governor. Now remember, Griffin, CEO, Citadel, moved his company down to Miami because of Chicago's taxes, because of its crime. He's going to do the same exact thing with this proposed business in New York, guaranteed. And he uses the salmon analogy, which is very interesting because it relates back to Seinfeld. I don't think Griffin knew this, but anyway, cut number 9, go.
He's making it really clear. New York doesn't welcome success. Are these states trying to push away from their populations those who really do believe in the merits of capitalism, the merits of a free society, the importance of education?
Yeah, they are.
To me, it feels like Illinois has been very successful with this undertaking. If you've opposed J.B. Pritzker, you probably left by now. You've had enough. It's just not worth it every day. What did it feel like in Chicago with J.B. Pritzker as governor? It felt like being a salmon swimming upstream to die.
Oh,
that's
like,
nice.
Why?
That's a nice image. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, isn't that a nice way to end today?
Yeah.
But it felt like pointlessly hopeless.
Swimming upstream, looking to die. That is exactly what's went on in Illinois, which is why Griffin moved the Citadel down to Miami. No state income taxes, very, very business friendly. And now, obviously, New York, where you have Mamdani saying, you come here, I'm going to tax you, and do it in the most pious, smug way you could possibly imagine. So now Griffin's saying, all right, fine. No New York anymore. Say hello to the home of the Dolphins, because that's exactly what's going to happen. Meanwhile, the whole salmon thing, I like that analogy because it brings me back to Seinfeld, of course. And, well, here is George Costanza, Jason Alexander, one of the best ever characters on television. All of them were, quite frankly, as Elaine, as Jerry, as Cosmo Kramer. Here is George lamenting the fact that every decision he has ever made has been wrong, and if he did the opposite, it would be right, just like salmon swimming upstream, which is the opposite of every other fish. It's hard to explain, but anyway, here's cut 10, go.
Every decision I've ever made in my entire life has been wrong. My life is the complete opposite of everything I want it to be. Every instinct I have in every aspect of life, be it something to wear, something to eat, it's all been wrong.
Tuna on toast, coleslaw, cup of coffee.
Yeah. No, wait a minute. I always have tuna on toast. Nothing's ever worked out for me with tuna on toast. I want the complete opposite of tuna on toast. Chicken salad on rye, untoasted, with a side of potato salad, and a cup of tea.
Well, there's no telling what can happen from this.
You know, chicken salad's not the opposite of tuna. Salmon's the opposite of tuna, because salmon swim against the current, and the tuna swim with it.
Good for the tuna. Perfect. If you rank Seinfeld episodes, you're looking at opposite, probably number 2, The Bet, number 1, The Bet. Can I talk about this on G-rated radio? Yeah, I guess I can. It was the last person that would pleasure themselves last. Yeah, and Kramer was out before, like, the check even came when they bet it. I think, who won the whole thing, by the way? I believe it was George, but then it was revealed George actually cheated. So, and Elaine got 2-1 odds because I can't even get into it. Forget it. No big deal. Let's move on. Anyway, Democrats are very, very worried that Kamala Harris is going to run for president. And when you look at the actual polls, she may very, very well run because she's the front runner right now. She was a vice president. She was a nominee. She lost badly, but I don't know. She may run. She's beating Gavin Newsom by like 15 points right now in early polls. I get it. I get it completely. It's very early. But here are Democrats to Kamala saying, please, God, do not run. Cut number 12. Go.
Just look at the headlines and you can see that she's failing to read the room. Look at these. New York Times, a California dream. Some Democrats fear Harris picked the wrong race. USA Today op-ed. I voted for Harris in 2024. She shouldn't run in 2028. In the Hill op-ed again, Kamala Harris tops potential 2028 polls, but she shouldn't run.
Democrats do not want this in any way, shape, or form. She is profoundly a horrible candidate for the presidency. We saw that in 2019. She couldn't even get to 2020. Didn't even get to Iowa. Not one vote. And then 2024, as vice president, she was installed 107 days. She ran for president with $2 billion behind her and lost every swing state. Didn't get back the House. Lost the Senate. Lost the popular vote. This is not somebody you want running. But right now, she is leading quite easily for the Democratic nomination. The question is, can Democrats talk Kamala Harris out of running? I don't know the answer to that because I don't know her. But I could see her saying, you know what? I got a good chance. I could do it. I just see a J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio completely destroying her on a debate stage, and that would be the end of it. But again, we're early. It's May of 2026. But for now, Democrats they do not want a woman, I guess, of color to run. They want a straight white guy. They want Gavin Newsom. They want Andy Beshear, Kentucky, Democrat, in a red state, somebody who can fool people enough to say, all right, let's vote for this guy because he's kind of a moderate. He's Bill Clinton. He's in the center. And then once they get in office and they go hard to the left, like Abigail Spanberger or Mikey Sherrill here in New Jersey. Before we go to break, oh, my. This is an amazing stat because we keep hearing that because Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and others are against the Iran war. Therefore, there is a MAGA civil war and Trump is weak. He's not weak because look at the polling. And here's Harry Enton, of all places, CNN, saying that Trump is as strong as ever with Republicans. Cut number 13, go.
I think there's this myth that's going on right now that, Trump is really losing support among Republicans. But compared to other midterm cycles, he's just as popular with Republicans as he has ever been at this point in midterm cycles. Right now, nationally, we're talking about an approval rating on average of 84%. In 2022, his popularity rating was 76%, actually lower, right, when he wasn't in the presidency. In 2018, the last time he was president, 85%. That 85 looks a whole heck of a lot like this 84% right here. The bottom line is this: Donald Trump still absolutely has juice with Republican voters. You saw it in Indiana, and I think that you'll see it down the line as well if any Republicans try and go against the President of the United States, who is still very much beloved by Republican voters nationwide.
Outside of the anti-Trump podcast universe, Donald Trump is as strong as he has ever been. It's clear. Iran war, almost every Republican that voted for him agrees with it. They agree with the border being shut down. They agree with drill, baby, drill. He is coming with every possible promise as far as fulfilling them. When he ran, they're coming true. So this whole myth from those on the right of all places who have fringe podcasts saying that he is losing support. No, not even close. Not even a question. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is Concha at Night. Back with so much more in just a moment.
Where liberalism is a no-go. The Joe Concha Show, weekday edition. Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
And welcome back, everybody. So, Markwayne Mullin, he is the current DHS secretary, is warning Kathy Hochul and Zohran Mamdani. Well, if you're going to oppose me in terms of ICE doing their jobs, or NICE, right now it's NICE, apparently, President Trump going forward with the National Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, therefore the acronym would be NICE, which would be very, very interesting for Democrats to try to spin as evil people that are just acting as, basically the Third Reich, Gestapo, Nazi kind of thing. Now, when they're nice, how do you do that? But anyway, the point is that here we have Markwayne Mullin, who is as serious as a heart attack, saying we're going into New York, regardless of what you say, Hochul and Mamdani, to get the worst of the worst out of here. In other words, criminals that are hurting your citizens that you were sworn to protect. Cut number 14, go.
Every single day. We have a great relationship. I couldn't do this job without him. He's somebody I lean on every single day. We're not going into New York like another Minneapolis, but what we're going to do is we're going to go in there and we're going to go after the felons, the known felons. We're going to be serving judicial warrants. We're going to be using administrative warrants in some cases, but there's a lot of known criminals that are harboring themselves in New York, and the governor knows this. The mayor knows this. The city officials there know this. They know these warrants because we've asked for their assistance and helping them pick up these individuals. They have flat out told us no. So President Trump has made it very clear we're going to restore law and order in everybody's city and everybody's states and everybody's community that we can. So we're going in there to get the worst of the worst out of New York, regardless what the governor says or not.
I can't believe we're even at a point where this is one versus the other debate. It's very simple. You come into this country illegally, which Bill Clinton, whether we're talking about Chuck Schumer, Barack Obama, you come in here illegally. And then you commit crimes on top of that. Why is this even like a thing? You are deported when you do that. Actually, when you come to the country illegally, you are deported. This is very simple. And Democrats now are trying to protect these people, murderers, rapists, sex traffickers, child molesters, from ICE. Because I think they think it's politically, expedient to do so. Again, I think that the midterms are not a sure slam dunk for Democrats because they promote and embrace this stuff, and it's a whole bowl of wrong. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is Concha at Night. Back with so much more in just a moment.
The Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
And welcome back, everybody. So, who or what is a woman? It's a very good question, right? Because actually, it's not a good question. It's quite easy, right? There are women and men, and those are the only two genders that we have at this point, as far as we know, unless there's aliens on this earth. But the point is, Ted Cruz, who, not like Goodfellas, like, you're a funny guy. You're funny. Not clown funny. Talking like Pesci at this point, berating Henry Hill. But I think this is very funny because, again, Democrats, not all, but many, continue to insist that there may be more than two genders. And the great joke from the Al Smith dinner in 2024, when Donald Trump was running for president, was, Democrats keep telling me that there are more than two genders. And then I didn't believe them until I met Tim Walz. And you're like, yeah, maybe there are more than two genders because Tim Walz, jazz hands and quite feminine. Anyway, the point is, here is Ted Cruz in cut number 3. And this is actually genius. Go.
It wasn't too long ago
when people knew the answer to what is a woman. That didn't used to be a trick question. Like for thousands and thousands of years, you could come up to a caveman and say, "Excuse me, sir, do you know what a woman is?" The answer would be, yep, sure do. There's one right there. Yeah, that's a woman. And every time a Democrat claims they don't know, they're lying. All right, I'm going to prove to you right now that Joe Biden knows what a woman is. Okay, I have been in the Senate 14 years. In the entire time I've been in the Senate, never once has Joe Biden come up and sniffed Chuck Schumer's hair.
Oh.
He knows. And you know what? I am even more certain Bill Clinton knows what a woman is. No doubt whatsoever he knows.
It's true. Biden sniffed a lot of hair of a lot of very, very young girls, which, again, if Trump did that, could you imagine the media reaction to something like that? It's insane. There was a debate last night in California, and Spencer Bratt, who I just wrote about today, reality TV star, is now running for mayor of Los Angeles. And he put out this ad about a week or two ago where he is in front of his trailer home. Spencer Bratt, right? Fairly, he's doing okay. Doesn't have to do his own laundry, so to speak, but big problem. His house in the Palisades burnt to the ground. His parents' house, who he could stay at, I guess, right? Relatives, burnt to the ground. 17,000 homes in the Palisades burnt to the ground. And yet, very few have been rebuilt. So now Spencer Bratt puts out an ad in front of his trailer home saying, okay, here's where I live. And then the video pivots to him in front of Karen Bass's home, who's the mayor of Los Angeles right now at 25% approval, showing that, oh boy, that's pretty opulent. And then there's another city councilwoman who's running, owns a million, excuse me, might as well be billion. It looks very, very, very expensive. Her house as well, and saying, okay, they are not touched by this, you are. And this thing went viral to the point where 14 million people at last check have viewed this video. CNN, on a nightly basis, gets 500,000 people watching their network. So when you reach 14 million by social media, suddenly getting on CNN isn't very important. So then Bratt is at this debate last night, and he smokes everybody in terms of Karen Bass, the other city councilwoman. NBC Los Angeles does a poll after who won this debate. Pratt gets 87% of the vote. 87. Bass gets 8%. The councilwoman gets 5%. 87%. And you're going to hear why in cut number four. Go.
Say Councilwoman Robin acts like she doesn't have any authority with this homelessness. She was the third most powerful person in city council. She runs the homeless housing thing. She acts like this is just Mayor Bass. First off, inside safe. I like to say inside safe makes all of us outside unsafe. The reality is no matter how many beds you give these people, they are on super meth. They are on fentanyl. The DEA statistic says 93% of this is a drug addiction problem. Nithya, Councilwoman Robin's plan for treatment first. I will go below the Harbor Freeway tomorrow with her, and we can find some of these people she's going to offer treatment for. She's going to get stabbed in the neck. These people do not want a bed. They want fentanyl or super meth. These ideas cost us over $400 million to house for 70, 3,000 people for $400 million. This is an absolute failure for both of them. They're a team.
So Republicans should absolutely take note. This is how you debate. No apology. Be prepared. Have the stats. And right back in their face. That's it. Let's do more, shall we? Here's Spencer Bratt on whether non-citizens should vote. Now, here's the best part. All right. It's a yes or no question from the moderator. Should people who are not citizens in this country vote? Bratt has a one-word answer because it's a yes or no question. The other two candidates, not so much. Word salad. Cut number 5. Go.
This is a yes or no question, an answer. So there's an LA council member. He wants voters to decide. He is saying that non-citizens, should they be allowed to vote in local elections? Is this a yes or no, Mr. Pratt?
No.
Mayor Bass?
It depends. It's not a yes or no.
Depends on what?
Well, first of all, when you say non-citizens, it doesn't mean they're here illegal. It doesn't mean they're undocumented. They could have green cards. They could be here perfectly legal. And there's a lot of states and cities that do that on very, very local elections. We have to see what the councilman is proposing.
Councilmember Bremen.
Yeah, I would say, again, it does depend. In other places, school boards have non-citizens.
Yes or no?
Non-citizens.
Yes or no?
And I have a question for you. You told NBC News.
Yes or no? Well, it depends. No, it doesn't depend. Either you are a citizen of this country or not. It's that simple. Oh, my goodness gracious. So here's how this works. In Los Angeles, it's just like the California governor's election, where there is a primary, and then you have two candidates that could advance. Everybody else does not. So we could have a situation where Karen Bass, who's the current incumbent mayor, she ends up moving on. But I have a feeling that Spencer Pratt will also move on. Then it's 1-on-1. Karen Bass is at 25% approval. In the most blue city outside of San Francisco and Minneapolis, I guess New York, when only 1 in 4 support you, well, there's an opportunity there. And this guy, Bratt, as you've heard, is very, very effective, very, very definitive. And, oh, by the way, it's not like, yay, Trump. And I don't mean that as a bad thing. But in Los Angeles, you don't want to be like, okay, you don't want to invite anti-Trump sentiment. He's just making common sense arguments like he does here. And this is really funny because Spencer Pratt calls Karen Bass a liar for, lying. And then the moderator, because it's Los Angeles and it's the media in California, reprimands Pratt for actually calling her a liar. Why can't you do that again? Anyway, cut 15, go.
As mayor, I'm going to add 20 dip sites all around the communities connecting to pools. So God forbid the water system goes down again. These dip sites that will be connected to individuals' pools will fill up for the helicopters to have water.
Mayor Bass, do you have a response to that? Absolutely. He's saying several things that are completely inaccurate. First of all, there was one reservoir that was out of commission. He is correct. 1 million years ago, it was for wildfires, but over the last 30, 40 years, it's been for drinking water. He talked about the winds. That is just completely inaccurate. If that were accurate, then the planes would have been able to fly. And so the winds reached close to 100 miles an hour, and the planes were unable to fly. So if there were reservoirs, if that reservoir had been open, it would not have worked. We had 2 other reservoirs totaling 8 billion gallons that were available, but could not fly.
Yes, she mentioned me. So she's an incredible liar. Everyone on their phones, Google it. 40 weather stations in the Pacific Palisades. It never went above 40 miles per hour. She is referencing the Altadena fire.
I have to interrupt you.
What?
No name calling,
She just lied, though.
Yeah, but no name calling.
She called me a liar.
That's not name calling. She literally lied about that. You can Google it. He was accurate, Spencer Pratt. And yet here we are, the moderator. You can't call somebody a liar during a debate. That's not name calling. That actually is accurate. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is Concha at Night. We wrap this puppy up in just a moment.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
All right, everybody. So Jen Psaki, I've written 2 books. I've written 3, actually, but in 2 of those books, this gal got a full chapter because she's that horrific of a human being. My first book, which was called one of the great titles ever, Come On, Man, The Truth About Joe Biden's Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Presidency, bestseller, of course. Jen Psaki was the press secretary for Biden at the time. And boy, you want to talk about a prolific liar. And I get that press secretaries have to spin things, but she is on a whole new level. And then in my third book, which was called, obviously, Donald Trump's Greatest Comeback Ever, inside Trump's big, beautiful campaign, unburdened by what has been, Psaki again, because at this point she was at MSNBC, gave me a lot of material to work with. Now, here she is, also on MSNBC, talking about how the next Democratic nominee, democracy is going to triumph. And there is no back room where we decide, Democrats, who's going to be the next nominee. Democracy will do that. Voters will do that. Here's cut number 6. Go.
But what is exciting about it is that you, the people out there, get to choose. There is no, thank God, dark room in Washington where people sit around and decide here's who the nominee is going to be. Typically, that's not how it happens. It's not how democracy works. There's going to be a whole process, and maybe 30 people run for president. And the thing with Barack Obama is he wants to leave space for that.
Oh, my goodness gracious. I can't even put my... Again, the hair hurts from hearing that. In 2024, Barack Obama led an entire chorus and movement to make sure that Joe Biden was shivved and completely set aside after that horrible debate. Georgia Tech, I was there, 2024, June, Atlanta, made sure that Kamala Harris, who was Barack's obvious choice, was installed as a Democratic nominee. Because, wow, first female president, first woman of color. Barack helped that happen. Okay, great. And how'd that work out? No swing states, lost the House, lost the Senate, lost the popular vote. That's nice. And here you have Jen Psaki, who, again, there was a bidding war for this person between CNN and MSNBC to have her join as a host. Well, without Peter Doocy, she's not very interesting now, is she? And the fact is that she says that democracy is going to triumph and there is no people deciding in the back rooms. Kamala Harris was literally installed as the Democratic nominee in July of 2024 without one vote from anybody in the primaries. They could have held what's called a lightning primary and then, put a bunch of candidates forward and decided it on the DNC floor, Democratic National Convention. No. Kamala was installed because they figured that Trump was weak. And if they put a woman of color in there, enough liberals would come out and put her over the finish line. And many people predicted that it would happen. Me, on the other hand, October, Hannity, I said that Trump was going to win every swing state, win the popular vote, and cruise to victory quite easily. And I got mocked for that. Oops, got that one right. And the reason why was obviously because Trump was getting the union vote from the Teamsters, from the steel workers, from UAW, right? United Auto Workers, from service workers in Nevada. They were all behind him based on his policies, based on the fact that he was authentic to them as opposed to Kamala with the cackle, who was not. So the bottom line is that Jen Psaki saying that the next Democratic nominee is going to be chosen by the voters. No, it isn't. Those dark rooms, those smoke-filled rooms, whatever you want to call them, will choose who the nominee is. It's going to be a white, straight guy, I can guarantee you, and all the money is going to go behind that person, probably Gavin Newsom. And again, you want to defend that record? You want to defend this guy who is profoundly phony. All right, great. But when you consider the competition between Pete Buttigieg and AOC and Kamala and who else? Fred Flintstone out in Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, I guess he's the tallest midget in the room at this point. But he won't win if he goes against J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio, especially. That I do know. Meanwhile, here is Elizabeth Warren, who has run for president in her lifetime. This is about a year and 1 month ago, talking about how tariffs will destroy the economy and retirement funds. And today, at some point, the Dow Jones broke 50,000. The S&P broke records. NASDAQ broke records. 401ks are doing just fine. The economy is doing just fine. But here is Elizabeth Warren talking about how, the economy, it's done. This is April of 2025. And boy, this aged well. Cut number 7, go.
Comes in and basically starts the dumbest trade war in the history of this country. This is going to be about potentially millions of people losing their jobs. It's going to be about millions of people losing their savings, many of people losing their retirement security, and at the same time taking on even higher costs for everything they buy. So that's going to push us in potentially to foreclosures or people being pushed out of their apartments.
Yeah.
I remember this from
All right, Elias, I think we're good there. So that did not age well. Before we go, I got to play this because this is a great Tucker Carlson imitation. And we played it yesterday on the show, but here's one more clip. And this is perfect. I mean, as far as imitations are concerned, I always think of the Bill Clinton imitation. Who was that again? Oh, boy. I saw him at the Comedy Cellar way back when. Oh, boy. Elias, you got a name for me? Because I got to remember his name. Gosh darn it. Anyway, Will Ferrell did a great George W. Bush. Dana Carvey did a great George. Yeah, Daryl Hammond. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Daryl Hammond. And obviously, Dana Carvey did a great George H.W. Bush. Rich Little did Ronald Reagan. We could go on. But this, I think, is one of the best imitations of, I know Tucker isn't president, but boy, this is good. This is cut number 8 before we go. Go.
Okay, tell me more about J.D. Vance. Who is J.D. Vance? J.D. Vance, the vice president? I mean, I know J.D. are letters. I mean, they're letters, J and D. I mean, J, people are going to say, Nazi, J. But those are just letters to me. Those are just letters of the alphabet to me. You're telling me you don't know who J.D. Vance is? I literally don't know who that is. Those words have never come out of my lips. Actually, I've never uttered those words ever, and I've never... Tucker, look, I've watched you for years, okay? Way back during the cable news days when you had a show on... What show? Your television show. I've never had a show. Like at all. You had one of the highest rating television news programs? I've literally never uttered words out of my lips on television, like ever.
That's good. That's very good. I mean, that's perfect, actually. Let's put it this way. If I played that thing and I told you that was Tucker Carlson, you would believe it. And that's all you need to know. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This has been Concha at Night. We're back tomorrow night on WABC in New York and on stations around the country. Tomorrow night, we're going to interview Doug Brunt on a great book that he has written. He does these great historical dives as far as in World War II, for example, a guy named Diesel. I had no idea that Diesel was named after somebody, but Diesel ships were stolen by the Germans, or at least this guy was kidnapped by the Germans to develop Diesel ships, which were all a part of submarines. Incredible stuff. Anyway, a great interview. We're going to have that for you tomorrow night. In the meantime, I got 2 words for you. Bye-bye.